The Council of Mockery. Captain Elena Rodriguez stepped out of the human transport vessel and gazed up at the massive structure before her. Nexus Prime stretched across the void like a metallic flower, its crystalline petals reflecting the light of 3 different suns. The space station was a marvel of engineering that dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed. Each section represented a different alien civilization, their architectural styles blending together in a display of galactic unity that had taken centuries to achieve. Elena adjusted her dress uniform, feeling the weight of humanity's hopes on her shoulders. At 35, she was one of Earth's youngest diplomatic captains, chosen for this mission not just for her tactical brilliance, but for her ability to remain calm under pressure. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her brown eyes held a determined gleam that had served her well through countless negotiations. Commander Marcus Chen walked beside her, his tablet displaying the briefing materials they had studied for months. Marcus was Elena's closest advisor, a man whose strategic mind had helped humanity win several conflicts against pirates in the outer colonies. His Asian features remained composed, but Elena could see the tension in his jaw. Like her, he understood what was at stake today. The docking bay around them buzzed with activity. Cargo haulers moved supplies between ships while maintenance crews worked on vessels from across the galaxy. Elena noticed how the alien workers barely glanced at the human ship. To them, it must have looked like a primitive metal box compared to the sleek vessels from other worlds. A tall figure approached them from across the bay. Elena recognized him immediately from the diplomatic files. Ambassador Crix of the Mediator caste. His species served as neutral facilitators for intergalactic meetings. Crix stood nearly 8 feet tall, with pale blue skin and 4 arms that moved with fluid grace. His large black eyes showed what Elena hoped was genuine respect. Captain Rodriguez, Commander Chen, Crix said in perfect English, his voice carrying a musical quality. Welcome to Nexus Prime. The Grand Assembly awaits your presentation. As they walked through the station's corridors, Elena marveled at the diversity around her. Beings from dozens of species moved past them, some floating, others walking on multiple legs, a few that appeared to be made of living metal. The walls themselves seemed alive, displaying constantly changing patterns of light that Elena realized was probably some form of communication. The Grand Assembly Chamber was enormous, capable of holding representatives from over 100 different worlds. 3 massive sections dominated the space, each representing one of the galaxy's major powers. Elena and Marcus took their seats in a small human section that felt insignificant compared to the grand displays around them. The Vorthok Empire occupied the left side of the chamber. Their section looked like a throne room from ancient Earth, with dark metals and glowing red symbols carved into every surface. Emperor Thaxon himself was present, a massive reptilian creature whose scales shifted from green to gold in the light. His species had conquered dozens of worlds through superior military technology, and his presence commanded respect from everyone in the room. On the right side sat the representatives of the Crystalline Syndicate. Their area sparkled with geometric perfection, every surface made from some kind of living crystal that pulsed with inner light. Prime Crystal Zephyr stood nearly 10 feet tall, her body a collection of connected crystal formations that rang like musical chimes when she moved. Her species had mastered energy manipulation to a degree that seemed like magic to most other races. The back section belonged to the Hive Collective, and Elena found it the most disturbing to look at. Thousands of insectoid creatures moved in perfect synchronization, their actions controlled by a shared consciousness that spanned entire star systems. Hive Mind Alpha 7 served as their speaker, a larger version of the workers whose compound eyes reflected light in patterns that hurt to observe directly. Ambassador Crix called the session to order, his 4 arms moving in complex gestures that Elena assumed carried meaning for the various species present. The chamber fell silent, and Elena felt hundreds of alien eyes focusing on her small section. We gather today to consider humanity's request to join the Galactic Defense Alliance, Crix announced. Captain Rodriguez will present Earth's military capabilities, and explain how humanity can contribute to our collective security. Elena stood and activated her holographic display. The human technology looked crude compared to the seamless projections used by other species, but it functioned well enough. She began with Earth's recent history, explaining how humanity had expanded to 17 colonies and successfully defended them against various threats. "Our species may be young compared to yours," Elena said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "But we have learned hard lessons about survival and warfare. We offer not just our ships and weapons, but our experience in adapting to unexpected challenges." Emperor Thaxon interrupted with a sound that might have been laughter. His massive head turned toward Elena, and she could see rows of sharp teeth when he spoke. "Experience? Child species, your entire civilization spans less than one of our standard years. What could you possibly teach races that have waged war for millennia?" Elena maintained her composure and continued her presentation. She showed footage of human ships in action, their kinetic weapons tearing through pirate vessels with devastating efficiency. The projectile weapons were indeed primitive compared to energy-based systems, but they had proven reliable and effective in countless engagements. Prime Crystal Zephyr's musical voice filled the chamber. "Fascinating. Your species still hurls metal objects at your enemies. Our children abandon such crude methods before they reach maturity. Perhaps you could serve as historical curiosities in our educational programs." The chamber filled with sounds that Elena realized was alien laughter. Species after species joined in the mockery, their various forms of amusement creating a cacophony that made her ears ring. Marcus placed a hand on her arm, but Elena shook her head slightly. She would not show weakness here. "Hive mind." Alpha 7's buzzing voice cut through the laughter. "The collective has analyzed human military doctrine. Your tactics rely on individual initiative and emotional responses. Such chaos cannot compete with perfect coordination and logical precision. Your largest warships mass less than our scout vessels." Elena tried again. "Our weapons may be different, but they are effective. Human creativity and adaptability have allowed us to overcome enemies with superior technology before. We don't need to match your capabilities exactly. We can complement them." This brought even louder laughter from the assembled aliens. Emperor Thaxon rose from his throne-like seat, his massive form casting shadows across the human section. "Compliment us. Look around you, primitive creature. The Vorthic Empire commands plasma weapons that can melt entire moons. Our shields can withstand the core temperature of stars." Prime Crystal Zephyr added her own demonstration, causing the crystal formations in her section to pulse with blinding light. "The Syndicate has mastered pure energy manipulation. We can tear apart the fundamental forces that hold matter together. Your metal projectiles would vaporize before reaching our ships." The Hive Collective section suddenly moved in perfect unison, thousands of creatures creating complex patterns that made Elena's head spin. Alpha 7's voice buzzed with what sounded like contempt. "The collective operates beyond individual limitations. Our battle fleets number in the millions, each unit controlled by our shared consciousness. Human neural capacity cannot comprehend warfare on such scales." Elena stood silently as each major power demonstrated their superiority. The displays were genuinely impressive, technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics as humanity understood them. She began to understand why the aliens found human capabilities laughable. Ambassador Crix attempted to restore order. "Perhaps we should allow Captain Rodriguez to complete her presentation before making final judgments." "There is nothing more to see," Emperor Thaxon declared. "This species offers nothing we need. Their ships are slow, their weapons are obsolete, and their tactics are chaotic. Including them in the Defense Alliance would be like arming children with sticks and expecting them to fight alongside warriors." The formal vote was swift and unanimous. Not a single species supported humanity's admission to the Alliance. Elena watched as the results appeared on the chamber's displays, rejection after rejection, often accompanied by comments about humanity's primitive nature and limited potential. As the session ended, Alina and Marcus gathered their materials in silence. Around them, the alien representatives continued their conversations, already forgetting about the humans in their midst. The three major powers began discussing coordination of their fleets, sharing technology that could reshape the balance of power across entire sectors. Alina overheard Emperor Thaxon speaking with Prime Crystal Zephyr about joint military exercises. Our plasma cannons, combined with your energy manipulation, could create weapons of unprecedented power, he said. Perhaps we should demonstrate such capabilities for the smaller species to ensure they understand their proper place in our hierarchy. As they walked back toward their ship, Marcus finally spoke. Alina, maybe they're right. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. What can humanity really contribute to galactic defense? Alina stopped walking and turned to look back at the massive space station. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the alien fleets assembling for their exercises. Each ship was a work of art, streamlined and elegant, with energy fields dancing around their hulls like living things. Marcus, do you know what I learned in there? She asked quietly. That we're completely outmatched. Alina shook her head. I learned that every single one of those species thinks exactly the same way. They've all followed the same path. Discover energy manipulation, build everything around it, assume that makes them invincible. They've become so similar in their thinking that they can't imagine any other approach working. Marcus looked puzzled. Are you saying that's a weakness? I'm saying that when everyone thinks the same way, they all have the same blind spots. Alina smiled grimly. They're so convinced that their methods are superior that they can't see alternatives. And that, my friend, is exactly the kind of arrogance that gets civilizations destroyed. The human transport ship detached from Nexus Prime and began its journey back to Earth. Behind them, the greatest military minds in the galaxy continued planning their grand demonstrations of power, secure in their belief that they had seen everything the universe had to offer. None of them suspected that the species they had just dismissed as primitive would soon shake the foundations of galactic civilization. Alina spent the long journey home studying every recording they had made of the alien demonstrations. Each weapon system, each tactical doctrine, each example of technological superiority. She analyzed them all with the focused intensity that had made her one of humanity's finest military strategists. If the galaxy wanted to see what humans could contribute to warfare, she would make sure they got an unforgettable demonstration. The Forging of Thunder. 6 months after the humiliating rejection at Nexus Prime, Dr. Sarah Kim stood in the deepest levels of the Lunar Research Complex, surrounded by the most ambitious project humanity had ever undertaken. The facility stretched for miles beneath the moon's surface, its corridors buzzing with activity as thousands of Earth's brightest minds worked around the clock on what had been designated Project Prometheus. Sarah was a woman in her early 40s, her Korean heritage evident in her sharp features and methodical approach to problem-solving. She had earned 3 doctorate degrees by age 30 and had revolutionized human propulsion technology before her 40th birthday. Now she faced the greatest challenge of her career, building something that could stand against the combined might of galactic civilization. General David Iron Wolf Harrison entered the main laboratory, his heavy footsteps echoing off the metal floors. At 55, Harrison was a legend in human military circles, having earned his nickname during the brutal fighting on Kepler 442 bits, where his tactical genius had saved an entire colony from annihilation. His gray hair was cropped short in military fashion, and his steel blue eyes missed nothing as he surveyed the controlled chaos around him. Dr. Kim, what's our status? Harrison asked, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. Sarah gestured toward the massive construction bay visible through reinforced windows. Inside, teams of engineers and robots worked on something that defied easy description. The hull was angular and brutal-looking, nothing like the elegant curves preferred by alien shipbuilders. Every surface bristled with weapon systems and armor plating that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The Thunder Titan is 70% complete, Sarah reported. We've successfully integrated the salvaged alien technology with our own systems, but in ways they never intended. Their energy manipulation techniques, combined with our kinetic warfare doctrine, have created something entirely new. Harrison nodded approvingly. The ship was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers long and bristling with more firepower than most human fleets combined. But its size wasn't what made it special. The real innovation lay in how it fought. "Show me the weapon tests," Harrison ordered. Sarah activated a holographic display that filled the center of the laboratory. The footage showed the Thunder Titan's prototype systems being tested against mock-ups of alien vessels. Instead of the energy beams or plasma cannons favored by galactic civilization, the ship fired what appeared to be simple metal projectiles. But these weren't the primitive kinetic weapons the aliens had mocked. Each projectile was wrapped in fields of stolen alien technology, energy matrices that amplified their destructive power while maintaining the unpredictable nature of physical ammunition. The results were devastating. Energy shields designed to absorb and redirect plasma beams simply couldn't cope with solid matter enhanced by exotic physics. The aliens have spent millennia perfecting defenses against energy weapons, Sarah explained as the hologram showed alien shield systems failing catastrophically. Their entire military doctrine assumes that advanced civilizations abandon kinetic warfare. They literally don't know how to defend against what we're throwing at them. Engineer Captain Maria Torres approached from across the laboratory. She was young for her rank, only 28, but she had proven herself during the colony wars and had been handpicked to pilot humanity's ultimate weapon. Her Hispanic features were set in determined lines as she studied the test results. "Ma'am, I've been running combat simulations," Torres reported. "The Thunder Titan can take on entire alien squadrons and win. Their weapons are individually more powerful than ours, but their tactics are completely standardized. They fight like they're following a manual." General Harrison smiled grimly. "That's because they are following a manual, one written by species that think they've seen everything the universe has to offer. Captain Torres, are you ready to show them something new?" Before Torres could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Emergency lights bathed the laboratory in red as automated systems announced incoming priority communications from Earth Command. Sarah quickly activated the main communication array, and the hologram shifted to show Admiral Rebecca Foster, head of the Earth Defense Force. Foster's usually calm demeanor was shattered. Her uniform was disheveled, and her face showed signs of extreme stress. "General Harrison, we have a situation. Long-range sensors have detected massive gravitational anomalies at the edge of the galaxy. Something is coming. Something big." The hologram expanded to show sensor readings from across human space. Dozens of dark objects were moving through hyperspace at unprecedented speeds, their trajectories aimed directly at the heart of galactic civilization. Each object registered as larger than anything in the known databases. "Admiral, have you contacted the Galactic Alliance?" Harrison asked. Foster's expression darkened further. "We tried. The Vorthak Empire told us to leave galactic defense to real civilizations. The Crystalline Syndicate said our sensors must be malfunctioning because nothing could move that fast through hyperspace. The Hive Collective didn't even respond to our communications." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she studied the sensor data. The objects were moving in perfect formation, their courses adjusted with mathematical precision that suggested incredible intelligence. Whatever was coming had technology that made even the galaxy's most advanced civilizations look primitive. "How long until they reach populated systems?" Harrison asked. 18 hours, Foster replied. "General, I know the Thunder Titan isn't complete, but it might be our only chance to warn the galaxy about what's coming." Captain Torres stepped forward. "Sir, request permission to take the Thunder Titan into combat. She's not fully tested, but she's ready to fight." Harrison looked around the laboratory at the faces of humanity's best and brightest. These men and women had worked themselves to exhaustion building something the galaxy had deemed impossible. Now they might be the only thing standing between civilization and destruction. Dr. Kim, can the Thunder Titan function in combat conditions? Sarah ran quick calculations on her tablet. The primary systems are operational. We haven't completed all the secondary systems, but the main weapons and defensive arrays are ready. Sir, she's as ready as we can make her in the time we have. Then we launch immediately, Harrison decided. Captain Torres, you'll take a skeleton crew and proceed to the contact coordinates. Your mission is to assess the threat and, if possible, engage the enemy before they reach populated worlds. As the Thunder Titan prepared for emergency launch, news of the approaching threat finally reached the galactic powers. The response was swift and overwhelming. The Vorthak Empire mobilized their entire fleet, their massive plasma cannon-equipped dreadnoughts moving to intercept the unknown enemy. The Crystalline Syndicate deployed their energy manipulation ships, each vessel capable of tearing apart matter at the atomic level. The Hive Collective launched millions of synchronized fighters, their shared consciousness coordinating attacks with perfect precision. Captain Torres watched from the Thunder Titan's bridge as the alien fleets assembled. Each ship was a masterpiece of technology, their sleek hulls glowing with power that could reshape entire star systems. Compared to them, her ship looked crude and primitive, exactly what the aliens expected from humanity. The first contact occurred at the edge of the Vorthak Empire's territory. Long-range communications captured the battle as it unfolded, and Torres watched in growing horror as the unknown enemy revealed themselves. The ships that emerged from hyperspace were unlike anything in galactic databases, organic-looking vessels that seemed to absorb energy rather than generate it. Emperor Thaxon himself led the Vorthak response, his flagship's plasma cannons charging to full power. The energy beams that had once impressed Alina Rodriguez now lanced out across space, carrying enough power to vaporize small moons. They struck the enemy vessels directly and simply vanished, absorbed without trace into the dark hulls. Prime Crystal Zephyr tried next, her energy manipulation techniques creating cascading waves of destruction that should have torn the enemy ships apart at the molecular level. The exotic energy patterns struck the dark vessels and were absorbed just as completely as the plasma beams. The Hive Collective's millions of fighters swarmed around the enemy, their synchronized attacks overwhelming in their coordination. But the dark ships simply opened what looked like mouths along their hulls and began consuming the fighter craft, literally eating them and growing larger with each victim. Within 3 hours, the combined might of galactic civilization was in full retreat. The enemy, now designated the Void Devourers by human intelligence, had proven immune to every form of energy weapon the galaxy possessed. Worse, they seemed to feed on the attacks directed against them, growing stronger with each battle. Captain Torres received the final transmission from the alien fleets as they fell back in complete disorder. Emperor Thaxon's voice carried desperation that Torres had never thought possible from the arrogant reptilian leader. Any vessel in range. This is the Vorthak flagship. Our weapons are useless against these creatures. They consume energy in all forms and use it to replicate themselves. We estimate their numbers have tripled since first contact. All ships are ordered to retreat to minimum safe distance and await new orders. Torres looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. 23 men and women from across human space, all volunteers who had signed up knowing they might not return. Chief Engineer Roberto Martinez met her eyes and nodded. Weapons Officer Linda Chang reported all systems ready. Navigator James Park confirmed their course to the battle zone. Captain, Communications Officer David Okafor said quietly, "We're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Alliance. They're requesting immediate assistance from any available vessels." Torres almost laughed at the irony. 6 months ago, these same species had rejected humanity's offer to join their alliance. Now they were begging for help from the primitive civilization they had mocked. "Put them through," Torres ordered. The hologram showed Ambassador Crix, his usual calm composure completely shattered. His forearms moved in what Torres recognized as distress signals among his species. Any human vessels in range, this is an emergency request for assistance. The Galactic Defense Alliance formally requests immediate aid against the Void Devourers. We acknowledge that we may have underestimated human capabilities. Torres smiled grimly. Ambassador Crix, this is Captain Torres of the UES Thunder Titan. We're en route to engage the enemy. You might want to keep your ships at a safe distance. We're about to show you what human warfare really looks like. The Thunder Titan dropped out of hyperspace directly into the combat zone. The Void Devourers had grown to massive proportions, their dark hulls now kilometers long and bristling with absorbed energy from the alien attacks. They moved through space like living things, their organic surfaces rippling with malevolent intelligence. All stations, battle stations, Torres announced. Target the largest enemy vessel and prepare to fire kinetic spread pattern alpha. The Thunder Titan's weapon systems came online with a sound like thunder, but instead of energy beams or plasma cannons, the ship's hull opened to reveal thousands of projectile launchers. Each weapon fired solid ammunition wrapped in stolen alien technology. Tungsten cores surrounded by energy fields that amplified their mass and velocity to impossible levels. The salvo struck the Lid Void Devourer like a physical force. The creature's energy-absorbing hull, perfect against plasma and exotic particles, had no defense against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The enhanced projectiles tore through the alien vessel like paper, creating cascading explosions that lit up the void. For the first time since the battle began, a Void Devourer was destroyed. The remaining enemy vessels turned toward the Thunder Titan with what looked like hunger. They had absorbed the energy weapons of entire fleets and grown stronger. This new opponent offered a different kind of meal, one they eagerly approached. Torres ordered a full barrage. The Thunder Titan's hull erupted in continuous fire as every weapon system activated simultaneously. Thousands of enhanced projectiles crossed space in deadly patterns, each one carrying enough kinetic energy to level cities. The Void Devourers tried to absorb the attacks as they had the energy weapons, but solid matter couldn't be consumed the same way. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Thunder Titan hung alone in space, surrounded by the debris of a dozen Void Devourers. The ship's hull was scared and battered. Several weapon systems were offline, and the crew was exhausted. But they had won. Captain Torres opened a communication channel to the retreating alien fleets. The response was immediate. Dozens of species requesting permission to approach, their voices filled with awe and disbelief. Emperor Thaxon's massive form appeared on the hologram, but his arrogant posture was gone. Captain Torres, the Vorthic Empire wishes to formally apologize for our previous assessment of human capabilities. How did you defeat creatures that consumed our most powerful weapons? Prime Crystal Zephyr's musical voice carried tones Torres had never heard before. Humility and respect. The Syndicate acknowledges that we failed to understand the true nature of warfare. Your methods achieved what our advanced technology could not. Even Hive Mind Alpha 7 seemed different, its buzzing voice lacking the earlier contempt. The collective requests instruction in human tactical doctrine. Our previous analysis was flawed. Torres looked out at the alien fleets, the same ships that had mocked humanity's primitive weapons just months before. Now they waited respectfully for permission to approach, their crews eager to learn from the species they had dismissed as inferior. This is Captain Torres to all Galactic Alliance vessels, she announced. Humanity formally accepts your invitation to join the Defense Alliance. But next time, you might want to listen when we offer to help. You never know what the primitives might teach you.